Everybody, Nick Mumberto here from the Dre Free Press, along with Jeff Seidel after Michigan's 26-19 loss. 26-19, that's right. Yeah, 26-19 loss to South Carolina in the Outback Bowl. Michigan finishes 8-5, Jeff, in what was, one more horrible offensive day in a string of them all season for Michigan.
This was an absolute total collapse. I mean, you're talking blunders, fumbles, interceptions, coaching mistakes, all the way across the board, an absolute collapse. And it starts with Harbaugh. I mean, He made mistakes. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't protect the quarterback. All the way across the board, an absolute collapse.
Yeah, I think it was 277 total offense today. 5 turnovers, all in the second half. They blew a 16-point lead in the second half with one thing after another. Brandon Peters turnover in the end zone. Higdon fumbles inside the 5. They had 2 turnovers inside the 10. I kind of really felt that this was a day where all of the issues that we've seen all season sort of kind of crashed together at once in the fourth quarter of the second half, and it was too much for them to overcome, and South Carolina kind of just found themselves, here's a win.
Well, their coach, some of the quotes were interesting. They talked about having more toughness and grit, and just the inner fortitude of not making mistakes and making the plays when it mattered most, and Michigan absolutely could not do it.
Yeah, I think I did the stats today, or when it was over with. I think they finished the season with 348 point something yards of total offense, which is second worst in the last decade. And the big one, the whopper, is they finished the year with 9 touchdown passes, which is the worst program's had since 1975. So this was a year where, again, you just said it. Jim Harbaugh runs the offense, and we got questions all day, and I've got questions all season. Fire Tim Drevno, fire Pep Hamilton, all this sort of stuff, and that's fine. I mean, you can make staff changes in the offseason if you want, if you're Harbaugh. That's fine. But he's supposed to be the quarterback guru, and he's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer, and their quarterback play was horrible all season long. Doesn't matter who was in there, and that's the reality of it. So you can change your staff if you want. It's fine. But I don't know if that's going to be the end-all, be-all fix.
And the interesting thing was coming into this game, Brandon Peters, who started the year as a third-string quarterback, this was his chance to show – not that he was going to earn the starting position, but that he should be absolutely in the discussion, that he could lock down it if he played really well, and he absolutely did not. He came out struggling,
44
overthrows, underthrows, and then by the end, when he had a chance to win the game, a couple picks.
Yeah, so again, I mean, it's a lot of questions of, maybe Shea Patterson's just the answer. I continue to maintain it's not one person. It can't be. It's too much.
Because even if you put Shea Patterson in this game,
I don't think it's any different. I mean,
because he doesn't get maybe he makes plays, but you still don't get the protection. You still don't run the ball. So
right, yeah, and you're still fumbling, and I don't know. I mean, it was just one bad thing after another. This whole season, offensively, was a mess. The way they started the year out with running a bunch of different stuff that didn't make much sense. Folks point to the injuries at quarterback. Wilton Spade obviously goes down after the whatever game that was, but if you look back, Wilton wasn't exactly lighting it up when he got hurt. And then, of course, here Brandon Peters has a month. Whatever it was, 5 weeks to prepare for this, and he was not good at all. So
they said he had swagger, and he came out.
Yeah, it didn't look like it at all. I mean, they said a lot of things this year, and they did very little on the field, and that's the ultimate takeaway. They were not a good team, and in my opinion, I don't think they're that close to being a great team. I think there's a lot of folks that were upset with me when I said that. I wrote that the other day. I don't think it's one thing. I don't think it's, I think it's multiple layers of a lot of people who need to get better at all areas on offense.
I was just going to say,
spot.
I disagree with you on, I think the defense was good enough this year to be a much better team.
Sure, but the offense was horrible.
Yes, no question.
And, the offensive line, which again was missing 2 starters today. Michigan wouldn't say why. But regardless, didn't matter who was starting this year on the offensive line. Nobody protected. Nobody really did much in the ground game. Receivers didn't get open, drop passes, quarterbacks weren't good. It's across the board, and I don't think it's any one magic button. Maybe it's a number of them. And for the folks who ask what has to happen for it to be fixed, I don't know if I know the answer, but it's got to be Jim Harbaugh's decisions to make it, to figure it out.
I in my initial preview for the season, I talked about the offensive line, and I think going forward that has to you win or lose beginning with the defensive line, offensive line. Defensive line was pretty dang good.
Pretty good, yeah. Yeah,
so
really
it has to start with the offensive line. That would create you fix that, a lot of the other problems go away.
And as you look forward, next season they do bring a lot back. Michigan brings back close to 20 starters, depending on a couple, Winovich and some things here and there. But at Notre Dame, at Michigan State, at Ohio State, home against Wisconsin, home against Penn State. If you're asking me today, those are all games that they could lose. They're games that they could win, I suppose, in theory, but none of those are, that's a tough stretch. Right. And now you're going into year 4 where, you got to have it now.
I was just going to say, after year 3, okay, we sit here, they end the season with 3 straight losses. They're nowhere near a national championship type team. No. And the great irony is this game is being played as a prelude, warm-up, just time filler before the real games that matter today, as we're filming this. You're nowhere near national title championship game. You can't beat your rivals to this point. No. You're nowhere near the Big Ten championship game. At this point, he's done nothing.
No, certainly not nearly enough to justify, obviously what he's being paid, all the attention, everything else. No, I mean, nothing's really been accomplished. They had a fine year in 2015, not good enough last year considering all the talent they had, and then this year, of course, they were very young, but they didn't. And somebody asked me this the other day. Well, how do you say that it's because I wrote that they weren't gaining ground. They didn't gain any ground this year, and they didn't. That's reality. And someone said, well, how can you say that when they were not favored to win any of the games that they lost in the regular season? I said, that's not what this is about. It's not about, if you just go through the motions and do, what you're expected to do, I guess, by a Vegas odds book week to week, then you're a program that just exists. If you go do something that you're not supposed to do or beat people in difficult games and difficult situations, which they have not done at any point this year, and really if you look back in the last 3 years, they beat Wisconsin last year at home, a good Wisconsin team. They beat the Big Ten champion Penn State team at home, and the year before they beat a Florida team in the bowl game. But I mean, who have they beaten? Not much.
One thing that I will go back on, and I don't know the answer to this. I happened to watch the Wisconsin game just a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself as I'm watching, if they had a quarterback who could have completed some of those passes, maybe things turn out differently. If they would have completed some of these passes, I mean, there was a time he was rolling out right through the ball at the feet. And I'm just saying,
what's the quicksand really?
With a good quarterback and good quarterback play, can that cover up some of the problems you're seeing on offense? I don't know. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I don't know if that's enough. I'm not convinced. That. Obviously you need to figure out your quarterback. You need to figure out your offensive line. I'm not convinced that you have enough playmakers around them to do. I mean, everyone told me all year. Donovan Peoples-Jones was a freshman, of course, but Donovan drops a punt late in the game, struggled with one earlier in the game. Has a long way to go to being what I would consider a top-notch Big Ten receiver. I know Tariq Black was hurt, and maybe he comes back and is something really special, but he only played in 3 games, and we can't really sit here and say that. Higdon fumbles inside the 5. Evans really didn't do much today. The tight ends were good this year, but again, didn't do much today. It's everything. It's not just one thing, and that's kind of the thing that sticks with you when this thing wraps up. It's not just one thing. It's a lot of things.
And that's probably the biggest surprise
after
year 3 of what you thought.
That they're not close.
Not close.
No. And anyone who wants to say that they are is just, it's wishful thinking. And maybe, not to say that things aren't impossible. Things can change. You can get a lot better in an off season, and maybe things break your way, and you can fix stuff.
Because the year.
But what are we talking about here? Are we talking about fixing stuff to get to 10 wins again? Or are we talking about fixing stuff to get into the playoff?
Right.
So they're a long way away from that.
Right.
So they're a long way away from that, and the Big Ten East isn't slowing down. And right now, how do you look at it next year and say that how do you put them ahead of Ohio State, Ohio State, Penn State, or Michigan State right now? I don't know if you can.
And especially the way they played in bowl games.
Right? They all just rolled through people. Penn State was great. Penn State's going to lose some stuff. Wisconsin's quarterback's back. Penn State's quarterback's back. Michigan State's quarterback's back. You don't know who your quarterback is, and your offense had one of the worst seasons on record with a guy who was supposed to fix all this. Hasn't happened.
Yep.
So that's it.
So on a cold, dreary day.
Well, probably colder at home.
Yes. But apologies.
So we'll
apologies to everybody back home.
But in any event, you got anything else, Jeff?
No, that's about it.
All right. For Jeff, I'm Nick. We'll talk to you guys later.